into week 12 of the College Football Catch-Up podcast for the Stateline Sports Reporters podcast. We've got kind of a slow week here in college football. We've had a lot of excitement. Now we've got games.
Not a whole lot, just games. I mean, that comes with the territory.
It does.
We've had quite a few interesting weeks, so we got to have a lighter one at some point. Yeah.
There we go. No Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's on a bye after losing to my Clemson Tigers and your Syracuse Orange.
We both took care of them. Good job.
They need a break.
Go Orange.
Their quarterbacks need a break. Clearly, both of their quarterbacks a little bit banged up. Bashal Tutin still very much so banged up. Only had 4 carries in that loss. So hopefully Tech can rest up and recover before truly needing to get at least one more win to become bowl eligible between Duke and Virginia.
Yeah.
So
and on a strong note.
Exactly.
Just gonna wash it away.
Working to finish before next season. Hopefully next season is their season. That's like the Virginia Tech fans.
Every year.
It's like, this is our year. I think my dad's like truly given up on that. Like he's been through it enough. He's like, I'm not, no year is our year. No. 1999 was their year, and it truly wasn't their year because they still lost. All right, moving on. We're going to start with some SoCon football. Furman at ETSU. The Bucks senior night close out their home slate in the regular season, as Trey Lamb so kindly reminded fans. Maybe you'll see another game there, but for sure, last home game for the regular season.
Yeah, that's big. When you're able to get the fan buzz that they've been able to bring this year with Trey Lamb coming in and back to winning ways with a 6-4 record, it makes that last home game of the regular season pretty interesting because it's kind of a good way to go out with your home slate, but it's also a very important game at the same time. So I think it's going to be wild there. Maybe not as much as last week.
Are we going to get into that? Are we going to get into last week?
No, we don't have to get into that. I wasn't there. I wasn't
there either.
I'm not going to say anything about it.
I did get messages about it, though. People were like, what is going on? I'm not there.
I'm not there. Can't tell you. We'll stay away from that part of it, other than just ETSU football. And, hey, they got the win.
With not a lot of fans left to watch it.
Right.
But they were able to squeak out that fourth quarter victory.
Yeah, big.
That was a big one.
That was a huge one outside of what Trey Lamb called their biggest game with that game at Mercer. I think the coming back from that tough loss and beating Western in that rivalry at home. That's almost like near the same notch of importance. But yeah, going to that final home game. I like the Bucks. Furman's struggling.
I think both teams are struggling.
Struggling in different ways.
ETSU is struggling and finding ways to win sometimes. Like last week, it was what? Gino had 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, I believe was the stat line. Don't quote me on that. He had some interceptions. Yeah. He had some mistakes. And they didn't even play Jalen at all. Right. This week, he says that they're going to play both quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're in week, 12. This is and that's their 11th game, and we're still doing a back and forth quarterback situation. I don't think any of us at this point thought it would be a thing at this point.
No.
I think if Gino English would have played a stellar game last week, it might have been his moving forward the rest of the way.
I think that was the goal.
Yeah, I think that was the goal. He didn't meet the goal, and now we're back to where we were a couple weeks ago, which I think is concerning. I think being able to have 2 guys that you can go to at some points, I think could be dangerous from an opponent standpoint.
If you
got to work with a running quarterback.
If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Yes, and we hear that a lot. Understood. And I do agree with that. Because
you have 2 that throw a whole lot of interceptions.
Yes.
And fumble the ball occasionally. I'm not trying to I'm laying on the heat right now.
Yeah.
And they found ways to win. I think that's the biggest thing. Yes, they've made errors, but the offense has found ways to get points on the board. The defense has for sure done their part stepping up and preventing other teams from scoring to give them those advantages in some of those close games. But truly, I think overall, and I think Coach Lamb would agree, the quarterback play this season as a whole has been disappointing.
Yes. Very much underperforming. My point was that it's not a good situation, but it can be confusing for an opponent.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're going to get. That's the only might be the upside for
both of them definitely bring different things. Jalen's obviously going to scramble a little bit more, has that running factor that you have to be concerned about. Gino's a little bit better through the air. So it's definitely it can definitely cause some issues.
Yeah. When you get Jalen out running out of the pocket, which is what I think Stateline wanted from him from the beginning, and it just hasn't worked out the way they envisioned. That's kind of where they're stuck right now. I think the defense is playing well enough to
keep them in every game.
But playing playoff caliber where they can go into the postseason and win a game or two. It's just that big question mark.
Is the quarterback play gonna be there
to determine what
the quarterback
happens.
Needs to show up, because the defense coming off of a 8-sack week, they're doing their part.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to move along. We're going to go into the SEC. This is truly the biggest game of the week across the board. Looked at it. I was looking at the top 25, trying to find other games for us to pick. Couldn't find any that truly piqued my fancy. So we're rolling with Tennessee at Georgia. This is a big game. Big implications.
Tennessee has a chance to knock Georgia out of the playoff.
Which is crazy.
That's probably the number one thing.
Georgia has won 2 of the last 3 national championships, and their season's up in the air this week.
And they may have been snubbed from the playoff of 4 last year, some people say. So, it's one of the most dominant college football teams in the last, we'll say 5 years total. I don't know. It's interesting because we've said it over and over again. Tennessee has not put themselves in a position to be in games like this at the end of the year in a long time. So I think, one, it's exciting for the fans, for Vols Nation. It also comes with immense anxiousness, and it's just nerve-wracking if you're a Vols fan.
It's setting people up for
it sets you up for disappointment, for failure, for sadness, because here's the thing. If Tennessee loses this game and they finish the year out as one of those 10-2 teams where there may be multiple of them at where we're going, where we're headed with all the teams losing, I think Tennessee, with their strength of schedule, is booted out of that company.
They're also not passing any eye test for me.
They're not. And
they've won games.
That's why I'm saying I think the only way Tennessee gets into the college football playoff is if they only have 1 loss on their in the loss column.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way.
So
this is almost an elimination game for both sides if you want to look at it that way.
I can see that. And if we're talking about, elimination and everything that's at stake, you have one huge question mark for the Vols heading into this game.
It's a big one.
Is Nico gonna be available?
Yeah. So I was at the game, obviously covering it on Saturday, and went to halftime. I go in to start cutting highlights like everyone else, and then everyone starts freaking out, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm pretty sure what broke the news for a lot of people was, I don't even know what it was. Someone was watching the broadcast that said that Nico actually was not coming back out of halftime. And then so it's all over Twitter.
The entire media room was just like in the dark?
It started for a few minutes, yeah.
Huh.
For a few minutes. I might have been the last one to know. But that's the way I saw it play out. I don't think a lot of people knew, even going back out on the field for the second half. A lot of people didn't know he wasn't coming back. I don't think a lot of people saw him take the hit he did towards the end of the first half that ultimately knocked him out. And then we're hearing he's going to get checked out at the hospital. So I was like, that's not good.
I think even looking back, obviously I wasn't at the game. I was up in Blacksburg. But I think looking at the hit, it wasn't like something that immediately was like, oh, I think this will have him out for a while.
Yeah, it wasn't an egregious thing. It's just sometimes that happens, and that's what's scary about football.
Especially when you're hitting your head, it can be you walk up, shake it off, you're fine, or it can be Tua.
Yep, and it can and if you are fine for a few minutes, it can catch up to you. So that might have been what happened. He thought he was good, goes to the locker room and just not feeling it. So honestly, if you look at the way the second half played out, though, Tennessee can still win games without Nico, if you ask me.
So you feel all right about Gaston?
Yeah.
From what you've seen?
Glimpses.
See, because
I think he can do the job.
I didn't watch a whole lot of the game, so when I think of Gaston Moore, truly, it goes back to my mind, the Alabama game.
Oh, when he
came in for one play, and the first pass was a pick.
And that's where the negativity and the concern comes in, is because a lot of people probably do think of that. But it's not like he did anything bad when he came in and played that whole second half. He did his job. I'm not saying he made any fantastic plays or, threw a beautiful deep ball that everyone was glamored by. I think he can get the job done. What Tennessee is banking on is, if they're going to make a playoff run, it's their defense. And that's what it's been since the beginning.
Oh, 100%.
Getting through those 4 home games.
They still haven't given up more than 19 points in a game.
And it's been what got them through the finish line to win all those 4 games in that 4-game homestand. I mean, they looked ugly in the first half in 3 of them. They finally scored on their opening drive this past Saturday, but then hit a lull again in the second quarter. So I think if he just goes in there, if they need Gaston Moore, if Nico's not playing,
I think the other key part,
does his job, doesn't try to do anything, do too much, just run the offense, I think they still have a shot.
I think the other key part that we're missing here is Dylan Sampson. He got a little shook up, but he appears to be fine from everything that I've seen.
He got shook up, but then he ran. I thought he was going to be done for they were talking about him not returning either, and then he comes out and busts out a 20, 30-yard touchdown run.
But
I guess he's all right.
I think when you're talking about, if you can get him on the ground going, running, that also, obviously you need a quarterback, but he can take a whole lot of pressure off of the balls if he can get going.
And on the run.
All right, we are going to shift into the Lawrence Box segment. As always, take every pick with a grain of salt. I think we've been doing all right recently. Not to toot my own horn. But I do think we hit the mark pretty much on almost every game last week. So, well, I did. I don't know about you. So,
I don't know either.
We're going to go to Furman at ETSU. Furman currently 2-7, ETSU 6-4. Obviously, we don't have anything. I'm setting the line at Bucks by 10. That's where the line. That's where I'm setting our line.
Okay.
Where do you fall on that?
I was thinking 9.5, 10, 10.5. We'll go with 10. Minus $10.
Okay.
Lock it in.
You're taking the Bucks minus 10.
Yep. Finish the homestand strong.
I think I'm gonna rock with you on that. It's so tough because Furman, they've dealt with a whole lot of injuries, a whole lot of unfortunate situations this year, where last year they were a playoff team. And it's always these stupid games that that you should win that can sometimes trip you up, especially here at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also I'm gonna roll with the home field advantage. I think the fan base has really been showing up. This is the last game. You got to show up. It's the last game, last home game. You got to be there.
Show up.
And I think that the fans are going to give the edge to the Bucks. I'll take the Bucks by at least 14.
Okay.
I'm taking them to win by 2 tutties at least.
Nice.
All right. Tennessee at Georgia. Georgia opened 8.5-point favorites, now up to 10-point favorites. I'm going to say that's based on Nico being listed as questionable heading into the week.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to say that jump came from.
Yeah, we could see that line move around before kickoff. Either way, I say take the Vols to cover.
I would agree.
Whether it's 10 or 8.5, 9.5, I think this is a close game.
Are you okay? Money line. Who's winning it?
Money straight up.
Who's winning it? I need a pick.
Georgia.
You're picking Georgia to win. Georgia's won the last 7 matchups. Tennessee hasn't won since back in 2016.
Yeah, like I said, Tennessee hasn't been in games like these in a while. I don't know how they're going to do, and it's on the road. If it's at Rocky Top, maybe a different story. That home crowd is unbelievable, but now you flip the script. You're the team that can't hear a gosh darn thing. In Georgia, think it's a close game. I just don't gives me that feel of they make a crucial mistake, whether it be time management or a turnover at the end of the game that flips it.
Georgia's also coming off a loss. I think that might have.
Yeah, and Georgia hasn't lost back-to-back games in 3 years.
I don't think you really want to see Georgia coming off of a loss. I don't think that's a team you want to see. Not
at all.
I also am going to ride with Tennessee to cover the 10-point spread. And part of me I want to be like the beacon of light for Tennessee fans. Yeah. And I want to pick Tennessee money line.
Ooh.
I want to go out on that limb regardless of if Nico plays or not. I think that the defense is going to carry Tennessee through.
Okay.
That's what we're going to rock with.
Okay. She called it, folks.
Called it. All right. Well, you can see if I'm right or wrong on Saturday.
If they get a home playoff game and we get to go, you might have to go and show you. Hey, I picked the Bulls to beat Georgia.
There you go. If Tennessee has a home playoff game, you bet your butt that I'm going to find my way there. I'll be tagging along up to Knoxville. After going up there every Monday, I got to make a couple appearances at Neyland this season.
Make it a second.
So maybe this is just wishful thinking. All right, we're going to wrap up this week of the college football catch-up. We'll have coverage from the ETSU game. We'll also try to fit some coverage in on Saturday. It is another late-night kick. If not, make sure to tune in on Sunday for more from that game.